Hello everyone and welcome to my channel ChristenDumb. A little play on words for you there. Well, I plan to cover several different topics on this channel ultimately. For now, primarily, I'm going to be focused on the Bible, but not in the sense that most people might think. I was raised in a Christian home. I actually served for 8 years as a minister, in the capacity of a minister. I was never ordained, but I worked 4 years as a lay pastor and then an additional 4 years as a student pastor while studying theology formally, to become a minister. So 8 years of pastoral experience, during which time I also, in addition to, the usual ministerial work of preaching sermons, I also gave Bible studies. I did some prison ministry work. I actually began giving Bible studies when I was 12 years old. So I had a long history of a deep respect and love for the Bible. It was my life, and I planned to make it my, quote, career. Anyway, I give you that background so you can have some perspective on why I don't believe anymore. Some people think the more you study the Bible, the more deeply rooted you will become in it. And that's true if you just accept what you've been told all your life and don't examine the Bible critically. But because I was a theologian as well as a minister, that's why I don't believe it anymore. Most ministers aren't really theologians. They don't study the Bible closely. They don't put it under the microscope. They just accept it and then go out and do their thing, pray with people, give studies. They just assume that the Bible is everything that they were told that it was. But when you start studying it intensively, really putting it under the microscope, you start to realize something isn't right here. I began noticing that several years into my ministerial work. But I always explained it away in my mind. I thought, well, it's just a matter of time. I'll figure this out. There were difficulties I had before that I didn't understand, and eventually I was able to iron them out, And that's what I was doing. I was, quote, ironing them out, trying to explain things away. And for a time, I felt comfortable with that. I really thought I was able to answer some of these problems. Some of them I was able to. Some of them I was just sweeping them under the rug and trying to convince myself that I had solved the problems. But as time went on, that number of problems began to mount up. And I realized something is wrong. Anyway, to make a long story short, somebody had given me a book to read that really, really got me thinking. I had already seen a bunch of corruption within organized religion, and I realized there was no future for me working in that profession. So I had already given up on that. But I still maintained a belief in the Bible for quite some time after I got my theology degree. But, as things started going wrong in my life and, you pray and nothing ever happens, you start to realize that this religion really isn't doing anything for you. In spite of all the great promises, ask whatever you will and I will do it, blah, 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 blah. Seek and you shall find, your faith will be able to move a mountain if you have faith, even the size of a mustard seed, Jesus said. I had bought into all that, but I was finding out that it wasn't actually working. And I began looking around and seeing that it wasn't working in my friends' lives either, who were believers. It wasn't working in my mother's life, who was a diehard believer, who inspired me to, get into the Bible and give Bible studies. And she went to her grave still believing, but I realized that, and I respected her for that. I respected her faith. Not Christianity, but her version of faith. You know what I mean? She was sincere about it. She practiced what she preached. She wasn't a phony hypocrite like a lot of Christians are. So I had tremendous respect for that. But that didn't stop me from still having questions. Um, and I didn't see my questioning the Bible as being disrespectful to my mother. Some people continue to believe what they were taught when they were kids just for that reason. Well, my parents taught me that, and my grandparents before that, and so it's kind of like a family tradition, and so they think that not only would it be against God, it would be against their own family if they turned away from their religion. Well, I say hogwash. I say hogwash. You got to go wherever the truth leads you. And if it isn't leading you down a road anymore that you were told to go down, by your parents, as loving as they were and as much as, you respect them, if what they had told you, even though with great sincerity they told you it, if what they told you upon close inspection turns out to not be true, you just have to turn away from it. You're not turning away from them, your parents, but you're turning away from something that they were misguided by. So that's what happened with me. I just, the pile of questions just started mounting. And I realized that I needed to answer these questions. I could not ignore them anymore. And what I discovered was, as I began looking more closely at the Bible, critically, actually analyzing it, not just accepting it to be true anymore, but analyzing it to see if in fact it was true, that's when it was over for me. The only reason why people maintain their belief in the Bible from cradle to grave is because they just accept it. They don't question it. Kind of like with anything else, right? People can go through their whole life believing and trusting their government, never knowing that their government is lying to them constantly. Oh, this will probably get me banned from YouTube, but anyway, it's the same with religion. You go through your whole life, you think you can trust these people, you think you can trust this book that they've been pawning off on you, and because it says some things that are nice, that sound nice, you're just convinced that the whole thing, kit and caboodle, must be nice. But it's not. It's not nice. Though the Bible does say some nice things, as you start picking it apart and looking at it again with a critical eye, you realize that those nice passages are actually pretty small in number compared to the mounds and mounds of other passages that fly in the face of those nice, toasty, warm, cozy passages. Kind of like politicians, right? They'll say some nice things once in a while to lure you in, pat you on the back and smile so you think that they're actually serving your interests, and then you find out later they're jerking you around. They have other interests they're working for, and they're just lying to you. Anyway, you get my point. So it is with religion, so it is with the Bible. The Bible says some nice things, but as you look at it more closely, there's something else going on. So I want to send out a challenge, maybe even a dare, to any of you listening. If you've been a believer in the Bible, or maybe you were just sitting on the fence, you weren't really sure, whatever, I challenge you, I dare you to stay tuned to this channel and go on a journey with me to put the Bible under the microscope, to examine it critically, perhaps for the first time in your life, to see if it stands up to close scrutiny. We're living in some very disturbing times, are we not? Lots of crazy things are going on in the world. And when things like this happen, when the world goes topsy-turvy, the first thing most people do is turn to, quote, religion, turn to the Bible. I'm all for having hope. Absolutely. In time of trouble, yes, you've got to, sober up and start clinging to more sound, solid foundations that the world itself is not providing for you. But if those foundations that you're seeking to cling to are filled with cracks, then you're not building on anything solid. You're just living a lie. And so my purpose here is hopefully to open people's eyes so that they not be led down a wrong road. Again, I'm all for having hope, but build your hope on something solid, not on fantasies, not on fairy tales, not on a book filled with contradictions. Some of you are probably shaking your head right now, maybe even laughing. This guy's nuts. What is he talking about? The Bible doesn't have contradictions. Oh, yes, it does. It absolutely does. Major contradictions and massive amounts thereof. Like I said, I dare you to stay tuned, to stick with me, and I guarantee you that by the fifth or sixth presentation that you listen to of mine, if you're not convinced already, you will at least be scratching your head. Listen to another 5 or 6 more, and you will realize that you have, in fact, been duped. I have found that the Bible is one of the biggest, if not the biggest lie that has ever been sold to mankind. Multiplied millions, yea, over 1 billion people around the world today adhere to that book. And yet there's no need to, there's no reason to. It is garbage. It has nothing to offer. Again, on the surface, it seems like it does. It says a few nice things. It seems to give you hope and blah, 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 blah. All it is a placebo pill. A placebo pill will do the same thing. If you think that pill you took is the cure-all for whatever is ailing you, your mind will convince you that you've been healed. You might even show some signs of improvement in your health. Placebo pills have been known to do that. It's amazing how the mind can work. If you can trick your mind into thinking you're well, in some cases, you can actually see improvements in your health. But is it the pill itself that did it for you? No, it's your own mind and the artificial sense of salvation that it's given you that makes you feel good inside. Again, I'm all about feeling good inside, but if that feel-good feeling is just based on lies and contradictions and inconsistencies, then it's artificial. It's not real. And eventually the thing's going to blow up in your face. It's going to collapse. People would say, well, if that was true, then how come the Christian religion has lasted for so long? Well, how come Hinduism has lasted for so long? How come Buddhism has lasted for so long? How come Islam has lasted for so long? That argument holds no water. Just because something has stuck around for a long time doesn't mean it's true. It just means that there's a whole lot of people out there that have never lifted the rug to see what the lumps are under that rug. That's all that means. Lies will persist as much as the truth will, sometimes more so. So because something's been around for a long time means nothing. The only way you can know for sure if something you have been told is true or not is to put it under the microscope, to inspect it closely, which is exactly what we'll be doing on this channel. So again, I invite you, I even dare you to stay tuned, because I absolutely guarantee you, no matter how much you think you're solidly based in your faith, immovably believing in that book and you'll never budge and no one can ever prove the Bible wrong, I absolutely guarantee you that if you continue to stay tuned to this channel, you will not be able to maintain your faith in that book of colossal, outrageous, and disgusting hypocrisy. The book contradicts itself. It contradicts history. It sends mixed messages about its own teachings. And its God is the epitome of evil. Yes, that's right. And I'll say it again. The God of the Bible, Yahweh, is absolute, pure, unadulterated evil incarnate. Oh, sure, there's passages that call him holy, just, and righteous, blah, 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 blah. But when you look carefully at the biblical record, at the things that it says that this God did and said, that entity is pure evil. You want to insist that that God is real? Fine, fine, he's real. But you're worshiping the devil himself, because that's all the God of the Bible is. In fact, there's far more evil attributed to the God of the Bible, Yahweh, than what there is attributed to Satan himself in the Bible. Did you know that? Did you know that? In fact, the Bible doesn't really say a whole heck of a lot about the devil. It blames him for all the evil in the world, but if you look at the biblical record ascribed to Yahweh, the things that he's done and said, he has to be the devil himself. Anyway, so I didn't want to make this introduction too long here. But I hope I've captured your attention, your curiosity. If nothing else, I hope you'll continue to listen just so that you can, quote, refute what I have to say, whatever your reason is. Whatever it is, I don't care. I hope you do continue to listen. And if you think you can refute me, by all means, I dare you to try. I challenge you to try to prove me wrong. The information that you will be provided with on this channel is mind-blowing. It is life-changing. And let me warn you, if you're prone to depression, if you're in poor health, if you're in your senior years, maybe this might not be the right thing for you. I don't want to be responsible for making someone go over the edge and become depressed. That's not my aim here. If you're leaning anywhere in that direction, I actually would prefer that you not listen to this channel. But if you're, able to handle the truth, and if your life isn't so built around the Bible that you feel you just couldn't go on without it, if you feel that you can go on without it, if you feel that you can handle finding out the truth, then this channel is for you. Absolutely. I would also recommend, though, that you not share this channel with others that are depressed or in their ailing, senior years or whatever. Don't use this as a means to like get even with someone or, get them in a tailspin, and let's not do that. Let's be mature about this. Please share this channel if you indeed listen to it and discover that, oh my God, this guy's right, the Bible is full of baloney. Please be careful who you share it with. Share it with people who are solidly grounded, mentally, physically, who are able to handle it, who want the truth and don't care where the truth leads them as long as it's the truth. That's what this channel is all about. Like I said, I'll be talking in the future about other subjects as well, but at least for now, this is going to be my main focus. So, yeah, good luck to you all. And like I said, I think you will be absolutely amazed if you continue to follow this channel, even just for 5 or 6 videos into it. I think once you're hooked, you're going to want to continue to listen, because the information I'll be presenting, it gets crazier and crazier as it goes along. I designed this series of studies to graduate, as we go deeper. It's going to get just worse and worse, or better and better, depending on how you look at it. But, if you're a diehard believer, it's going to get worse and worse, because what I expose as I go along, we just go deeper and deeper into the rat hole. And it gets uglier and uglier, and you're going to realize just how profoundly negatively this book has affected you as an individual and society as a whole. It's poison. It's an absolute toxin. And I marvel too at how Christians over the years have pointed fingers at Islam, for example, and have debated with Muslims, pointing out errors and contradictions in the Quran. They're right when they do that. Yes, the Quran is loaded with errors and contradictions and some downright hideous statements. But what's sad is when Muslims turn around and point out similar contradictions in the Bible, they won't listen. You got to love that hypocrisy. If you're going to point out the flaws in someone else's religion, you'd better be willing to listen, to actually listen to people who are presenting flaws in your holy book, and come to realize, to be humble enough to realize, to admit that your religion has no ground to stand on either. None. So anyways, that's what we'll be talking about. I hope you stay tuned. Thanks for listening.